What's up, everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to be running the weekly event for F1 2019, which happens to be Mexico. The race just happened this weekend. It was ooh, that's super annoying. Let's go ahead and get a fix on that before we carry on. Anyway, like I was saying, the race was this weekend, so I figured let's get in on the action. Let's do some Mexico. And I decided to jump in on it with very little practice. No official practice, no qualifying, but I did practice in some unranked events. Trigger warning to anybody who's into sims and stuff like that, the dynamic cornering is on for the corners. But other than that, no, well, ABS is on too. I'm not that good. I'll lock up instantly. But traction's off, and braking assist is off, thank God. I'm not that scrub. So we're going to be doing our best. We just came to have some fun and get reacquainted with the F1 community. It's a very different driving experience than the other sims and games I play, so this is it. This is getting reacquainted. I've yet to do a really successful race with no traction on, so that was a big goal for me. And we're starting looking at the grid fairly far at the back. I really wanted to race first person, but we decided against it.
Good luck, lads.
Okay, I muted everybody. I don't know how he slipped through the cracks, but anyway. He helped me sync the audio for this in the wheel cam, so thank you. Starting in 17th place, it looks like. That's good. Out of 20 people, that's good. So, here we go. Lights out, and it's off. I get a decent launch, not knowing what I'm doing, and you can see my rearview mirror there. I get a nice tire-to-tire punt from some guy, and he actually spins himself out, unfortunately. You gotta be ready for traffic to stop in these online races, man. For no reason, some cars will just be sitting at the line. So we're coming up to the first corner here, and sure enough, there's a yellow flag. Just what I needed. And you can see carnage is ensuing. Meat Cookie is a guy to keep your eye on here. He just wipes out in that crowd. Same with this Christian Padilla fella. Respawning on the left there. He had a bad accident. But we managed to get away from it. Catch up to the other crowd up in front. I almost had a good enough run to go for a move on that secret fella there, but with all the cars up in front, that was a risky idea. So I get right out of it, and well, Secret decides to engage NOS or something and just teleport and then plow through everybody. Feels like I'm playing GTA for some reason. Yeah, so we took out 3 people and just shot off like a rocket, which was interesting. Coming up to the S's here, I have yet to get a good line through here. Later on in the race, I kind of figure it out, but yeah, very cautious. You'll see caution's a big theme for this race. Cautious on the throttle, cautious on the braking quite often. Except for here, I go for a crazy lunge up the inside just because I had the momentum. And I want to get some positions, and it paid off. I think that's because that's a bot behind me, and bots, the second you're beside them, they get like extra cautious. They don't want to ram you. But they're not afraid to be an obnoxious ass when they're out in front. So here we go. We finally get a nice clean air, nice patch of clean air going onto the straight, and we've got a real player up front. So I'm looking forward to getting some interactions with him. Coming up to the first braking zone here after the straight. Big braking zone. You want to come down to third, throw it across, and then stay to the right. He goes a little deep and tries to get back to the right, causing him to lose a lot of speed as he comes back to the left, killing all my speed. Somehow, I still get a better run than him coming out of turn 2. And it's good enough to get up here. Now watch this. He pinches me so much, I'm on the dirt for a split second. I give him the space here. I know shit can get ugly real fast. And then he goes for a crazy cutback across the grass. I didn't expect that. And I get my wing to hit his tire, which is exactly what popped Verstappen's tire, Bottas's wing after that crazy pass. So, in the actual race, that was kind of nuts. So, I'm not too worried about it, though. This fella, I've seen him mess up a few corners now that I've got down pretty consistently. So I figure I'll see him again. I'll get another couple shots. I'm not too worried about it. And he seems to be relatively cautious. Not too worried about it. And down this straight here, looking for something. He's a little inside, a little defensive. I don't know why. I'm running very wide there. It's the widest I run, I think. Not doing too bad here. I noticed in the real race, I drove this game right before the race during qualifying, and then during the actual race, I took note at what gears they were using, and they were using second gear around that hairpin. So there's something I learned too. I could gain some time there. So I get a hell of a run on this guy thanks to the slipstream. And you can see at the bottom right, my ERS is 3%, 2%, 1%. That's about all the run I'm going to get. And right here, I just want to point out, that's way more room than he left me earlier, and more room than Vettel left Hamilton, for Pete's sake. And he still manages to butt heads with me, and evidently he wrecks himself. I mean, here it is again from my perspective. I'm keeping a pretty consistent line, pinching him, and he just does not want any of it. He doesn't want to back out. He doesn't want to run wide, even though he was running me onto the curb. But that's unfortunate. He ends up wrecking and ruining my position.
Confirmed. We'll receive
I
you at the
tried
end of
not to
this lap.
sweat it. We're just gonna box and see what. It's early on in the race. Maybe we can salvage something. So I cautiously wait. There's Dave. Dave's the other Canadian in the race. I don't know if I mentioned him earlier, but he's kind of like one of the goals, be the fastest Canadian. That would be something nice. So here's the end of the lap. I decide to box, and a lot happens here. First of all, Meat Cookie's right behind me. Second of all, this guy pits before I get in. You can see Meat Cookie's going to be passing here. And that's the Christian Padilla guy I brought up earlier. So he pits before I even get into the pit area. And, well, here's where I realize a lot. First of all, I stuff him.
Racing as you leave the pits. Go, go, go.
Oh, that's unfortunate. And second of all, they didn't replace my nose. They didn't do any body work. So maybe I didn't have to pit after all.
No more scheduled
I might have
pit
just screwed
stops.
myself. I got rid of a bunch of good laps on a nice set of soft tires, and I ruined the opportunity to use mediums for the second half of the race. I pitted way too soon. But, you know, in real life, I probably would have had a lot of damage on the car. I probably would have been out of the race, so I have no problem pitting that early. Skip ahead a few laps. I'm having a bit of an interaction with this Barnes guy here. I'm really fighting to keep the car under control. The traction, you have to be very sensitive with it. Looking for an opportunity here. Also being cautious, but the slowdowns were getting me. I think it's because he's a bot, in hindsight. But at the time, I didn't know that, and I kind of felt bad for bumping him and then just smashed around the outside. I didn't really know why he was being so sloppy. I played a little defensive coming in here just to make sure he doesn't try anything funny. Again, I thought it was a real person. Break loose for a second, but I sealed the deal. That's it. It doesn't. You can see I just start putting down a gap here. Nothing really happened on the 8th lap, except it was my fastest. 9th lap, nothing special happens. Blew the first sector, immediately go too deep into the second sector, and then oversteer City to the left and then to the right. Yeah, it didn't really. There was no chance of that becoming a quick lap unless I nailed the third sector. I do want to point out my fastest lap was on hard tires, so lots of room for improvement. Coming in this sector, you see Secret, the really fast guy who's setting down some quick laps, gets retired. And I start experimenting with riding that sausage curve a little bit, and I get a warning right away. So no more sausage for me. That's it. One and done kind of deal. As long as I can help it. Later on in the race, we're on lap 10 now. Get a yellow flag. You can see Secret retired. We passed the. He must have crashed in the S's. He must have had an accident. Almost going to the back of this guy here. That was just late braking. I was getting competitive seeing a person, and I almost hit him. Thank God I didn't. And here's something really strange happens. Here's what I'm talking about with the AI. He was backing up because a guy in front of him was stopped. Not even a guy in front of him, a back marker. I was so confused. What do you do when there's a yellow flag and the guy in front of you stops? You're not allowed to pass, but he's like stops for no reason.
Gap to the car in front is
I don't know. So you could see a bit of a blue flag there earlier on. Here he is catching up again. It's actually the first place guy. He made it. I can see him in my mirror now. And on the Nürburgring, I've had a lot of experience letting people pass in corners, and it just ends up terribly. So I wait to the straight.
Blue flag.
Yeah, he reminds me too. But I get over and I lift on the throttle and I wait to make sure he's got the momentum. I hope that was okay. I don't know what F1 standards are for blue flags, if you have to like basically come to a halt immediately, but I think I did it in the safest section. Anyway, here's what I'm talking about with the bots. The slowdown, and I accidentally rammed the crap out of them. A second can feel like an eternity in these races, so when I see he's not really moving on the map, I'm just like going. I thought it was a real person. I was going to wait for him to let him go back in front. He was holding still for what felt like forever. It was probably less than 2 seconds. But I just decided to carry on. Whatever. I'll take 10th. Thank you.
Okay, take it easy on the car.
Towards the end of the race,
sustain this level of damage.
you can see our Canadian friend gets disqualified. Something tells me he was taking too many sausages. So he's gone from the race. The confetti's already flying. And it looks like I don't get to do my extra lap. I guess once first place finishes, wherever you are when you cross the line, no matter the lap, is your position at that point, I think is how it works.
There's only one lap of fuel
But
remaining.
that's the race. It's me in 9th.
Caution, caution.
So, not bad overall. Top 10 was my goal. For a minute there, I thought I had top 5. Things don't always go your way, though, in racing, so, you know, take what you can get. I learned a lot. I think I'm ready to turn ABS off, and especially if I get some practice in and qualifying, I think I can. My best lap was a 123. I think I can bring it down to a 120 if I have sticky tires, manual ERS deployment, and I'm strategic with it. And I get my lines down, especially in Mexico. Well, I'm talking about Mexico. I can get a 120, I think, no problem. So we'll see you in the future. Nano, the man of the hour, will be back. Hopefully we'll see you next week in Austin. I believe next week's event is Austin, so we'll hopefully get some practice in for that. Some good practice. We'll get some qualifying. Hopefully we'll get a good spot. And then hopefully we can have a better race next week. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with that, considering everything that happened. It wasn't bad at all. Anyway, guys, just stick around for a sec for the player list, and I just want to point out, Meat Cookie came in 4th place, starting 20th. I saw him wreck right at the beginning. That's an amazing race. Good for him. Congratulations, buddy. Same with you, Nano. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you next week in Austin. Cheers.